Hello everybody, Daniel Rothmel here again with another screencast of another Level Up in Tech project for my DevOps Bootcamp. This one is another fairly simple, pretty straightforward project where we are going to create a custom VPC, virtual private cloud on AWS. And we're going to do it using Cloudformation because, as I've been saying in the last few videos, we want to stay out of the console as much as possible and use infrastructure as code whenever we can. So that means to create this custom VPC, we're going to use Cloudformation. So, like I said, this is fairly straightforward, but I'm going to take some time to go over the template a little bit. So the first thing we always talk about is, why would you want to do this? Well, on AWS, the VPC, the virtual private cloud, is where you launch all your resources into from AWS. So that's your virtual cloud, that's like I said, it's your virtual private cloud that contains all the resources that you use. So you can create as many virtual private clouds as you need to have as many different setups as you want. And so you might want to create one so that it has, so that you can control the settings on it and you can set it up exactly the way you want it in the regions you want it, that type of thing. So let's get into this. Let me move my face out of the way. You can see I've got no stacks here, but we're going to create a stack. Now, because we don't want to have to reinvent the wheel all the time, I went and searched for a custom VPC Cloudformation template, and I found a really great one. This is the website, a guy by the name of Ken Kruger. You can see he breaks down, actually, if you want to check out his blog post, he breaks down exactly how to create the Cloudformation template. And then on his GitHub, he's Kenny K65. He's got the code here. Anybody can use the template. He says, you can fork it, edit it, do what you want with it. But he's got a great base template. So what I did was I just took his base template and I put it into my IDE PyCharm, and here it is. So I'm going to walk through a little bit how it works just so we can understand what we're doing with this VPC. So he tells you in his description here, this is a YAML template, obviously. It's a Cloudformation template that deploys a basic VPC network. So it deploys a VPC with 1 to 6 subnets in 3 availability zones, depending on what you want to do, your parameter selections. I'm just leaving it the way he wrote it. So here in the parameters and the metadata, he's got parameters for the number of AZs, the private subnets, and the NAT types. And then in the parameters, we've got a bunch of parameters for the number of AZs, so we'll see how that works later, and the NAT gateways, and then different conditions and variables, so that when you build your VPC with the Cloudformation template, we can use this template over and over and over again. So Cloudformation template portability is huge. We want to use templates that we don't have to recode every single time we use them. So if we use templates that use variables and references, then we don't have to recode them because we can just change the variables and continue to use the same template. So we've got a bunch of variables built in here. And then he's got mappings for the Linux AMIs and for the subnets for the different AMIs, or the AMIs for the different subnets, depending on where you are. So the first resource we need is obviously the VPC. So here's the VPC. Now, the key thing here is you need to select a CIDR range for your VPC. So a great way to see how many, because everything in your VPC is going to need an IP address so everything can talk to everything else. So you want to make sure you have enough IP addresses for your VPC. And there is a great resource out there, CIDR.xyz, that will show you exactly how many addresses you're going to get based on what you put in. So if we go back to the template, if we go back and look and see the CIDR address, the CIDR range in here, we've got 10.1.0.0.16. So let's see how many addresses that's going to give us. So that gives us 65,536 addresses. And obviously, if we change the slash, then we're going to get different numbers. So if I make this 24, I'm only going to get 256 IP addresses. That's no good. We don't want that. So 16 gives us 65,000 IP addresses for our VPC. And that's more than enough addresses, hopefully, for what we need for our VPC. So then your VPC by default doesn't have access to the internet. So you need to give it needs to have an internet gateway in order to access, in order to go out and interact with the internet, and in order for the internet to act with the resources inside your VPC. So here's the resources to create the internet gateway and attach the gateway. Now we need subnets for our VPC. So here's the resource section to create the subnets, and you can see it has its own CIDR block. So here's a public subnet because we need, if we want the public to interact with our VPC. And then we also have private subnets. Now you might not need a public subnet. You might have resources in a VPC that you don't want accessible to the public, in which case you wouldn't use public subnets, but this one's going to create it. And then you need route tables for the subnets so that you can route the traffic appropriately within your VPC. So all the traffic, so you can put the traffic in the places it needs to go. So this creates the route tables for public and private route tables. Then you have to attach your subnets to the correct route tables. So that's how we do that. And then here's the security group for the gateways. So you can see on the security group the different ports, and you can customize this however you need it, but really we're just doing this so that we can understand when we launch this stack through Cloudformation, we can see what it's going to do. We can see how this works. And then the gateways, and then these are the outputs for what happens when we launch the stack. All the information it's going to give us. So let's go into the terminal and go ahead and launch this stack. So here is the command that we need. We have, I'm already in the directory where I have the stack saved, or where I have the template saved. Obviously, that's something you're going to want to do also. Otherwise, you'd have to use the absolute path to launch it. So the command is AWS Cloudformation deploy, the template file. This is the name of my file. And then we're going to name the stack, and I'm naming it Custom Vpc. There we go. Okay. So now it's going and it's going to do its thing. Here we go, waiting for the stack create update to complete. So now that the update is working, we can go into AWS and we can see here what's going on. So there it is. The Custom VPC stack is, the creation of that stack is in progress. So it's working on doing everything right now. And if we go into the stack name, we can look at the events and we can see what it's doing. It's already created the private route table and the public route table. It's working on doing the subnets. Let's see. Working on doing the internet gateways. The VPC creation is complete. It's already given it an elastic IP address. So now, since the VPC creation is complete, we can go to the VPC management console within AWS. And if I refresh it, you see now I've got two VPCs. So if I check on my VPCs, this is my default VPC here. And then this is the custom VPC that we just created with the Cloudformation template. So if we go into if we go check out the details, we can see here's the main route table that we've assigned it. Here's that CIDR range that we created. I'm the owner. And if we check out our subnets, we can see now here are the subnets that we wanted to create: the public subnet A, private subnet A, public subnet B, and private subnet B. And we can see if we click on these. So this is the public subnet A. We can see it's in USA East 1 A. And if we go to public subnet B, we'll see that it's in a separate availability zone, USA East 1B. And that was declared in the template where to put the subnets that make sure they're in different availability zones. So as you can see, this, it's a really handy dandy template to create a custom VPC. And then you can just change the attributes that you don't need or the attributes that you need to change in that one template. And that's the benefit to having portable templates. Kenny creates one template. We can take that template and alter it the way that we need it and still reuse his template. It can be used over and over again. His base template can be used over and over again to create as many custom VPCs as we want. So let's see if it's finished. Nope, it's still going. Still doing things. Let's see what's still going on. The route tables. It's still doing the route tables. But yeah, I mean, like I said, this is just a great, simple, straightforward example of how you can create a custom VPC using Cloudformation. And this is something that gets done all the time in the real world by organizations that use AWS as their cloud provider. So I hope that you've enjoyed this. There wasn't a whole lot to do, but I hope you've enjoyed watching it. And check out Kenny's links, and hopefully you can definitely learn something. Use his template, alter it the way you want, and you can create your own custom VPCs using CloudFormation. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Take it easy.